The following featured presentation is part of the Skywalking Network.
This is what you can look forward to on episode 473 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
It's mind-blowing that you were not only on Hoth, but you were also on Dagobah.
And back in those days, the idea of change your schedule to come down to the San Diego Comic-Con, they're going to go, what? Why would I want to do that?
All right, now, I want to talk about how you scarred my childhood there.
I've done that to a lot of people. It's a little friendly for a killer disembodied hand.
Yeah.
Now, this kind of reminds me of all those Andor cosplays.
Are you ready?
Off to Neverland.
Here we go!
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome. Disneyland is your land.
When I first made Star Wars, everybody in Hollywood said, well, this is a movie Disney should have made.
You're more than just fans. You're family.
Best day ever!
Secrets loud.
It's about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Hey.
When you use a bird to write with, it's called tweeting.
When we visit the world of Disney, we never grow old. It's a Peter Pan, Never land that keeps us young in heart.
This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you are skywalking through Neverland. I have a good feeling about this.
Hey, Skywalkers! Do you love hearing stories on what it takes to get a movie in front of the right eyeballs? I know we do. Well, keep your eyes and your hand right there while we welcome you back to Skywalking Through Neverland. I am Richard Woloski, but now everyone please say hello to my sweetie wife Sarah, the Scarlet Witch.
Ooh.
Because you're wearing that WandaVision shirt.
I don't need you to tell me who I am.
Oh, look at this. Pulling out WandaVision quotes.
That's right.
You had that one chambered.
I did. I love it. I love her delivery. I love Agatha's delivery. I'm so excited. Okay.
Oh, more Agatha.
I know. Oh, all right.
Agatha all along.
Well, as you can tell, Skywalkers, we are your enthusiastic podcast destination for the many decades of your Star Wars, Disney, Marvel, and pop culture fandom. So it's time. Are you ready? Imagine a big Wookiee hug from us and a little sprinkling of pixie dust for your week. And this is for our family of Skywalkers, of which you are one. That's
See,
right.
There's the hand again.
Oh, no.
It always comes back to the hand.
No, take it away.
What does that mean? Don't show me a disembodied hand. It'll freak me out.
All right, well, we are live on the Skywalking Through Neverland YouTube channel right now. In fact, we just kept recording for our things we want to share and decided to record our wraparounds this week too. So you never know what can happen on our Mondays at 6 p.m. Pacific things we want to share.
Yeah.
All kinds of fun stuff.
Yeah, you may get the hand. That'll all make sense later on in our conversation with Craig Miller.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Julie cannot wait for the bloopers this episode.
This whole episode's a blooper.
Yes, it is. All right, but
all right, should we give everyone the update on the YouTube subscribe?
Channel.
Okay.
YouTube subscribers.
Right. Uh-oh. I don't understand this. Last week we were at 8935. We begged everyone to please get us to 8940, and guess what? They did. But then guess what?
What?
It fell back down again.
Oh no!
To 8936.
Oh no!
So we're stuck in this little realm,
this little zone
of this YouTube vortex.
Interesting.
Yeah, because we can't get past 8940.
Okay.
It'll go up, it'll go back down. It'll stick between 8935 and 8940. We just, oh boy, we need to get 9,000.
Well, for a while we were stuck in the 8920s.
Yes.
So,
but we need to get 9,000. That's only like 64 more by Comic-Con, please.
Let's do it, Skywalkers. Grab people's phones. 10K tomorrow. Yeah, I wish. We just need another video to hit, and then we'll get that 10K pretty quick.
I don't want to overreach.
No. Yeah. But
All right,
yeah,
so
it'd be
you were
cool.
going on with your YouTube pitch.
Yes. So once again, subscribing to the channel really helps us out. Giving us a like on these episodes really helps us. And we do appreciate you Skywalkers who have already done so. In fact, we thank you for coming back, commenting on our live streams. We love it. So thank you for returning.
All right, now in this episode, Craig Miller is back to tell us all about his new book, More Movie Memories.
Craig worked in publicity and marketing on Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, but in his new book, he shares stories about working on so many other films and TV shows, and we only scratched the surface in our conversation, so we really highly suggest that you pick up More Movie Memories.
It's a very fun read. That's coming from me.
Yeah.
who doesn't read. Yeah, so when I say something is a fun, easy read, I mean it's a fun, easy read.
Absolutely.
Very, very good. All right, now we are being sponsored by Small World Vacations, and they are a diamond-level Disney vacation planner travel agency and can help you book your trip to a Disney park around the world or on a Disney cruise. And best of all, this service is free. How much is that, Sarah?
It is $0 free.
Free of charge. So head over there to Get that hand down. You're freaking me out with that hand. Head over there to smallworldvacations.com for a no-obligation price quote and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you.
Now, we are recording this episode from Long Beach, California on July 15th, 2024. And Richard, what happened today in Star Wars history?
On this date, July 15th in 2016, only a mere 8 years ago, Star Wars Celebration Europe 3 begins in London, England. And the convention, which is held at the XL Center, continues through July 17th. Now, some of the highlights include, and we kind of inadvertently talked about this during our conversation with Craig.
Okay.
The panel for Rogue One, a Star Wars story, happens. This was the first big, giant Rogue One panel. All the stars were there.
Gwendolyn Christie,
Gwendolyn
right?
Christie was the host.
Yes,
the moderator.
yes.
She was Captain Phasma.
I think that was the first time I saw her out of her Game of Thrones like garb.
Yeah.
And she was in this really pretty like red or pink like dress. And I was like, wow, she's so pretty.
And this is when the actor who plays Baze Melbus
Yeah. Oh.
was saying, he dies, she dies, and she's like, whoa, 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 whoa. It's like, wait a minute, you're a director and a producer yourself there, Baze. What are you doing?
Yes.
But the highlight, and I would have flipped out, Ben Mendelsohn appears in costume as Director Krennic, flanked by Death Troopers. Now, we talked about this while talking with Craig, because we're talking about going to conventions and seeing actors in their costumes and as their characters.
Yes.
Not just there signing autographs, maybe wearing their costume, but actually as their character, and seeing Ben Mendelsohn as Krennic right there. That would have flipped me out. And one of the Death Troopers was played by our good friend Marcus Doring.
Oh.
Yeah, he was one of the Death Troopers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
No, another big, giant panel that happened was the Future of Filmmakers discussion. Ooh. And this was a panel that had guests like Kathleen Kennedy and Ryan Johnson and Chris Miller and Phil Lord.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Future filmmakers of the Spider-Verse?
Yep.
Uh-huh. And this is when they first announced the actor playing young Han Solo in the untitled Star Wars movie, Alden Ehrenreich. He was awesome. He is an awesome personality for this. I think he did a great job in Solo. He's doing a great job in every other film that we've seen with him. And just seeing him up there on stage, you can just tell he's like, I'm so excited, but yet I'm so frightened.
I would be too. Like you step into Harrison Ford's shoes. Come on.
Right.
That's like stepping in Carrie Fisher's shoes or Luke,
But now you're seeing all your fans, and each one of them will be judging you, each and every one of them.
But yeah, Solo is still it's the most fun of the Star Wars films to come out of the Disney era. in our opinion.
I agree.
Absolutely.
All right, let's make Solo 2 happen with Who Jibs.
This is Gary Kurtz, the producer of Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back. I'm celebrating the 40th anniversary of the original Star Wars on Skywalking Through Neverland.
In 2022, our good friend Craig Miller released his book detailing the innovative ways he publicized Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back with Star Wars Memories. With his unique skill of being one with the fans, we have bestowed upon him the title, The Godfather of Fandom.
Craig is back with us now to tell us about his new book, More Movie Memories, where he shares stories about working to publicize films such as Superman 2, Heavy Metal, The Muppets Take Manhattan, The Last Starfighter, and so many more.
Hey, Craig!
Hi, guys. How are you? And, oh, that photo.
You as the Godfather. We love it. We love it.
Yeah, we knew we had to get you right there. There you go. The Godfather of Fandom, Mr. Craig Miller. Is there a line of people outside of your office right now ready to kiss your ring?
Yeah, that's not what they're doing.
Well, we gotta say thank you so much for all the shout outs in your new book, More Movie Memories. We were quite honored.
Well, you guys are good friends and you helped me with a number of things.
Yeah, we're delighted to help you. And, you start this book with a surplus of Star Wars memories of not just working on publicity in Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back, but also the numerous fan events that you've attended. And I mean, that really could have been the whole book.
It's not that I left it out of the first book, but things turned up over during COVID and the pandemic one of the things I did is I went through 40 years worth of file cabinets and cleared out storage areas and said, oh yeah, I never talked about this in the book. Well, let me do that. Like the wrap party on Empire Strikes Back. I found the invitation.
It's mind-blowing that you were not only on Hoth, but you were also on Dagobah. And there's photo evidence of that. How many of us, who among us can say that? Only you in this discussion here. So it was great that you continued your Star Wars career with the fan events, because it didn't just stop with the movies, but then you went to the celebration conventions, and you were on our panels, Fandom Through the Generations. Yep. You did the Hoth visit, and so many other WesterCon, so many other conventions and fan events that you did, which are all part of Star Wars Memories, but on the other side of it.
Right.
Yeah, well, I grew up as a science fiction and comics fan, and that's how I ended up working on Star Wars. So I've always had an affection and affinity for all of that. In fact, I'm working with a group right now to bring the World Science Fiction Convention to Anaheim in 2026.
Oh my gosh, how fun.
Yeah, sign us up for that one.
Yeah.
Well, the official decision will be made this August at the World Convention in Glasgow, Scotland. And while it's possible it won't come to us, we are the only ones officially on the site selection ballot. So it's pretty likely that we will, in fact, be awarded the convention, and it'll be here in 2026.
Whoa, in our own backyard.
Yep.
I love when conventions are in our own backyard. You hear a Star Wars celebration? Now, I was also so happy that in your Star Wars section of More Movie Memories that you shed some light on the May the 4th myth that keeps popping up on numerous websites every May the 4th. And this is the photoshopped Margaret Thatcher picture from the London Evening News that congratulates her on becoming the new Prime Minister, and May the 4th be with you.
Well, but it's not completely a myth. Just that ad with her photo,
yes, that's the myth.
Seems to be a myth. But there was, in fact, and it's also in the book, as you saw, there was an ad on May 3rd saying, May the 4th be with you, but without her photo.
Yes. I tracked that down. I tracked that down all the way from the beginning, and it started in 2011 with a website that posted this photoshopped picture of this faux headline with Margaret Thatcher. And I was talking to Bob Miller, a good friend of both of ours,
right?
And he's the one that did that deep dive. He said, "Wait a minute, Rich."
I was just going to bring up Bob and say he's the one who got me the copy of the original, the real ad that appeared, because he had done that research and gone through all the old archives and found that ad, but there was no, at least not anywhere that he could find, that ad never appeared.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who can do a deep dive more than Bob Miller. Yeah, and when I was doing Today in Star Wars History, I reached out to him and said, "Hey, Bob, I can't ever really find this source." And he said, "Okay, hold on for a second." Comes back the next day. He said, "Rich, I just reached out to the Library of London, the official Library of London, and yeah, that didn't exist." And my head just blew. And every May the 4th, I'm trying to tell people, hey, I don't want to be a wet blanket here, but that never existed. But if the myth grows to the point where it brings fandom together, then you know what? I'll back away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it isn't completely mythical. That was the first known publication of the phrase "May the 4th be with you" as a pun. It just, that particular visual is not real.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, the first time I saw it connected with Star Wars in an official way, it was on a Blue Harvest production call sheet in 1982 on May the 4th. And Kevin Thompson, our Ewok friend, pointed that out.
Right. It's one of those things that I'm sure lots of people came up with. But, you know, just like dictionaries, stuff is in the language, but where did it appear in print? Where can you actually point to it not just being someone's memory, but something that exists solidly and you can point at this location, this date? So in terms of that sort of thing, the Margaret Thatcher ad, or a Margaret Thatcher ad, was the first.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I just want to say thank you for really putting a cork in that topic of did it exist? Did it exist? Is it a gray area? Yes, it is. But once again, if it unites Star Wars fandom on May the 4th, hey, you know what? Let's just go with that.
Absolutely. Now, of course, remember, it only works in English. So,
yeah.
You know, there isn't a thing in German or Japanese. So it's really just an English-speaking Star Wars fans thing.
That's very true.
You know what? We'll take it.
Yeah.
Now, I can say another one of my highlights was the THX 1138 cosplay you and your friends did at WesterCon in 1974. I'm laughing with you. I'm so happy that you have pictures of this.
Yes. Yeah. Not the most flattering pictures, but and while the makeup was terrible, it looked better without flash bulbs. You know? In person, it looked at least a little bit better than that in terms of the bald wigs.
Wait a minute, what's wrong with that makeup? Oh, I saw this and I had to put the book down for a day just so I could collect myself again. But the fact that you have got pictures of this, back when everyone didn't have a camera in their pocket.
Convention masquerades, people brought cameras too because there were lots of cool costumes. This was perhaps not a cool costume, but it was a costume.
Yeah, and people may have brought cameras and developed the film, but over, 50 years, that pictures become lost or thrown away or discarded in some way.
Now, this kind of reminds me of all those Andor cosplays, like on the
on program.
On program, those kind of cosplays too. Which, of course, it was a little bit based on.
Right.
That the prison was based on THX 1138 a bit. Wow.
Oh, so this is pretty revolutionary. Mm-hmm. Do you recall the other contestants during this masquerade contest?
Oh, I have no memory of it. I know we did this, but what WesterCon was probably hundreds of people. It wasn't a giant convention like San Diego Comic-Con or Dragon Con or something, or even Celebration. It was hundreds, if it was 2000, I would be greatly surprised. You know, were there a couple dozen, 2 dozen, 3 dozen costumes in the masquerade?
I bet you were the only one there dressed from THX 1138.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We were the only
That's safe
one.
to say. Okay. Now, another laugh out loud moment. I can't believe I never knew this before. You've got a cartoon that Sergio Aragones did of you and Superman while at the Comic Artists Professional Society. This is amazing.
Yep.
This is legendary. Like, wow, what a thing to have.
And he just sketched this while you were doing this presentation on Superman.
Yeah, I after I left Lucasfilm, I was a publicity consultant to first Warner Brothers on Superman 2, and a number of other films, and Disney and Universal and Jim Henson. And one of the things I did for Superman is I went to the CAPS, Comic Arts Professional Society, meeting, which was in LA, out in the valley, but LA, and did it for them because that's a good audience. One of the whole things is to have people who love a subject. That's what we did with Star Wars. Go to fandom. People who love a subject, they'll talk to lots of people about it. So,
right.
That was what I was doing with these other films, among other things. And I went to CAPS and did it. And afterwards, Sergio walked up and handed me this cartoon, which is right now just over there in my office.
The classic Marvel Star Wars comics fans will know Sergi because there was a villain named Sergi X Aragontes who was based on Sergio Aragonés.
Sergio is one of the nicest guys ever. Just absolutely terrific. I think everyone knows who he is, but probably best known for the Marginals in Mad Magazine for God knows how many decades, and Gru the Wanderer that he does with Mark Evanier.
Man's legendary.
Yeah. Now, after all the years we've known you, Craig, I can't believe that we never heard the story about the Dick Van Dyke Show live taping you went to.
Oh, yeah.
My gosh.
When I was like 10 years old.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you say in your book that before the episode that they taped, Carl Reiner himself came out to answer questions, and he called on you. Can you
and what was
share
the
about
question?
that? Yeah, what was your question?
The question, yeah. Well, most of your audience has probably never seen an episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Oh,
We've
after
seen
WandaVision, I think everyone now knows about Dick Van Dyke.
Nick at Night. Yeah.
At the opening of the Dick Van Dyke Show, after the first season, was Dick comes into his house, greeted by Mary Tyler Moore, and there's Buddy and Sally, Maury Amsterdam, and Rosemary sitting on the couch, and Dick comes in, walks towards them, and trips over an ottoman. Except in some episodes where he scoots around it, which was just, it was them being silly and playing game. And as I tell in the book, it became a running bet people had over whether Dick would trip over the ottoman. Well, the episode I went to the taping of, which I think was like in the 4th season, there was no ottoman. And so I asked where the ottoman was, being a little kid who noticed things. And Carl Reiner was like, what? Huh? Oh, because to them it was just they moved it because it was in the way for blocking and stuff. So it just wasn't there anymore. But no one had ever mentioned it, and he'd completely forgotten that it wasn't there anymore.
Oh my gosh. And then to us, the audience, we always watched it with the music.
Yeah. Going, is this the one? Is this the episode where he's gonna fall? Nope.
Yeah,
he fell and didn't fall, and that was the basis for the Simpsons opening. They said we wanted that reaction from the audience. What's it going to be? What are going to be the differences in this opening? The way the Dick Van Dyke Show was. Is he going to fall? Is he not going to fall?
Absolutely classic.
Yeah.
And you say in your book that you had seen the episode Man from Emperor. So now we're going to go back and watch that episode and see if we can listen for a 10-year-old Craig Miller laughing and saying, where is that stinking ottoman? All I want is the ottoman. Because when a kid gets stuck on something, that's it.
It just blows my mind that you were there for one of those tapings. Like, that's a moment in history.
Mm-hmm.
First TV show or movie I ever saw being filmed.
Wow.
Wow. And then the next set that you were on was Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Mind blown once again. And you were there for Roddy McDowall's big finale speech. Oh, tell us all about this. How did you get on that set?
Well, I was there for 2 nights. They were shooting at night, and the first was on the Fox lot. And I really don't remember how I knew they were shooting or why I thought I could go in, but I lived not far from 20th Century Fox, and I drove over there. I was like 16, 17, whatever it was. And back then, if you looked like you should be there, no one stopped you going on to a studio lot. And so they let me in. I had a camera and a tape recorder and, so
clipboard.
Yeah, they let me in, and I walked in, and they were shooting exteriors. It was second unit work. I wasn't cognizant enough to know it was second unit work, but that's what it was. They were shooting, flames coming up from buildings and stuff like that. Frank Capra Jr., who was the AD on the film, but he was apparently directing all of the second unit stuff. So lots of simple fire gags and things being shot. And it was all exterior on the Fox lot. So it wasn't like I even had to go into a soundstage. And, nobody cared. I wasn't getting in the way of anything. And I ended up spending the evening talking to the head lighting guy and the executive producer. At the time, executive producer was representative of the studio for the production. So, and he was the only guy at the shoot wearing a suit. You could tell he was an executive. But we spent, several hours till like 2 a.m. watching and talking and flipping quarters, matching quarters. And the executive producer said, "You should come back tomorrow. We're going to be shooting at Century City, and it'll be a lot of big stuff with the actors." Well, now I was actually invited, so how could I not go?
And you say in the book that you're still in high school at this point, even though you tried to pass yourself off as a UCLA student.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, oh, I'm in UCLA film school. But yeah, I was in high school. And, then so I spent many hours on Century City, which was then the new big shopping center area, right on what used to be the Fox back lot. It had been sold off in the 60s and developed into housing and a shopping center and office buildings. And so I was there, and I didn't get in the way, but I was talking to lots of people, lots of the extras, and I shot some 8mm footage of him delivering his speech. Someone came up behind me. I tell this story in the book. I'm filming with my little 8mm Kodak camera, and suddenly there are these hands on my shoulder from behind, sort of gently moving me back behind the camera crew to not end up in McDowell's eye line and distract him. And no one was upset. They just said, "No, you can't do that because of that." And I go, "Oh, okay, sorry." What did I know? I was 17 and never been on a movie set. So they just, they were very nice about it. And I just moved back behind the camera guys.
Yeah, I found that out the hard way because I used to work on a show called Against the Law in 1991, and Michael O'Keefe, the kid from Caddyshack, Danny Noon, I was in his eye line. I didn't know what that even meant. He went ballistic. Like, everyone's yelling at me, and I don't know why. Please explain it to me. And they took me aside and said, never get into his eye line. Never. It's like, oh, okay.
Roddy apparently never noticed me. There was no indication from him or in his movements that anything happened, but they were right to move me. Some actors will notice someone and will, either just stop and say, "Oh, we got to do it again. I got distracted," and a few of them will explode, and I think that's inappropriate too. But they are the actors, so.
Yeah, and sometimes they want people there in their eye line so they can talk to somebody.
Yeah.
But with Roddy McDowell, this speech, I would give like 15 years up of my life just to have been there for that one pivotal scene.
Where there is fire, there is smoke. And in that smoke, from this day forward, my people will crouch and conspire and plot and plan for the inevitable day of man's downfall, the day when he finally and self-destructively turns his weapons against his own kind, the day of the writing in the sky, when your cities lie buried under radioactive rubble. And that day is upon you now!
Now, were you there for the reshoots? Because they went back and reshot his speech, which is why sometimes you only see his eyes.
No, this was the first time they were doing, for the reshoots, they didn't have, the apes, the chimps and the gorillas and all the extras.
Now, this 8mm film, you still have this, and it's been developed, right?
Oh, yeah, it's been developed. I still need to actually get it converted to digital. I'm just very nervous about it because it's, 60-year-old, not quite 60-year-old.
A little over 50, 55 years old.
55-year-old 8mm home movie film.
Well,
I still have that camera and projector, but I would never dare.
No, you gotta bring that to a specialty house and have them delicately with white gloves.
Well, I have a question. The 8mm film, that doesn't come with audio, does it? Or does it?
No, you gotta record that separately.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And you didn't record in the audio, right?
So you don't actually have his speech.
No, there's no audio.
A picture of the speech. Okay.
Now, did you get a chance to speak with Roddy that day, Roddy McDowell?
No, I wasn't able to speak with him. The only performers I got to speak with were a bunch of the extras.
Right.
Did you get to see like any of the makeup trailers or anything like that?
No, that was off.
Off the.
Yeah.
Yeah, what they would do is they would have all the extras come in and do the makeup at the Fox Studios and then bust them all in to the set. And sometimes apes had to drive their cars down like Wilshire Boulevard trying to get to the set.
Well, the distance from Fox to, the back end of Fox to where they were shooting was, hundreds of yards. It was not a great distance.
Right, but on the first Planet of the Apes, they had to get everyone made up at Fox Studios and then ship them all to Malibu Creek Park. And they were driving down PCH and they're in their makeup. And
oh my gosh.
It's Los Angeles, so no one gave them a second look.
A lot of the ones who were not featured were just in full head masks. They weren't in actual makeup.
The prosthetics. Was Nakatomi Plaza there, do you recall? The Die Hard building? This is the same area.
Yes, that's like the next block over. And, I can't remember if that particular building was there yet. I suspect it was not yet. I think the shopping center was there and the Century Plaza Hotel was there, but the Fox Tower was not yet there.
Gotcha.
Got it.
All right, now let's go into some of your publicity and marketing background, and I'd love to know how often do you see what you and Charles Lippincott started at Comic-Con by bringing genre films to the fans themselves, replicated by those who just don't get that secret ingredient to connecting with the fans, and that's really what you need to do is connect with the genre fans instead of just putting it out there for everybody. But you and Charlie Lippincott, who spearheaded the publicity on Star Wars, you brought the film to its audience.
Yeah, it's different now. Back when Charlie was the one who hired me, when we were doing it and when I was doing it after I left Lucasfilm, and Charlie had left Lucasfilm by that time as well, the studios, while they knew there was a magic in going to the fans, science fiction was still this weird stepchild that was funding the studios, but they didn't quite get it. And so there wasn't real money being spent the way it is now marketing films at conventions. So we never had the actors to come. We never had big displays at conventions or those big um, event spaces outside of like San Diego Comic Con in the Gaslamp District. Now they spend a huge amount of money. They'll bring all of the available cast down and stuff like that. And people get it a lot more. It's so much time has passed. People who love science fiction are now involved in running studios and in making movies. So there's more getting it, and the actors kind of get it. And I mean, some of them still think fans are weird, and some fans are weird. But most of them come, they have a good time doing the panels, they like taking the questions, they like hearing the joy everyone gets from these movies. And so we're not really seeing much in the way of problems or people who don't get it. One of the reasons I got hired after I left Lucasfilm by Warner Brothers was Robert Friedman, who was vice president of, I forget his exact title, vice president of publicity, vice president of marketing at Warner Brothers in the early 80s, had gone to Comic-Con in San Diego with the first Superman movie. And that was, 78, I guess? Based on the success we'd had with Star Wars. And Rob was a good guy. I've known Rob for many years, and he's a nice guy. He is not a fan type. He just did not get it. I did not see his presentation, but there he was at Comic-Con doing a preview on what is arguably the world's favorite superhero in the first big budget superhero movie, Superman. And he got booed by people in the audience. Whoa. I don't know what he said. I don't know what he did. And even he didn't really understand what happened. But when it came time to market Superman 2, he knew that Comic-Con was an important place for them to go. He didn't want to be the one to go down there. and that was part of why when I left Lucasfilm, he hired me as a consultant on Superman 2 and Altered States, Excalibur, Outland, The Hand, several movies for them. Because it's, it's not magical. It's just trying to have an understanding of who you're talking to and what they want to know.
Yeah, you either have that fandom gene or you don't.
Yeah,
it's just one of those things.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And the creation conventions I used to go to in the 70s and 80s, I think I've been to maybe one or two panels in that 10-year period, because I would walk in there and I remember these people up on stage saying, yeah, and this weird thing did this, and I don't remember this, and this weird thing. Wait a minute, are you calling us all weird because we like weird things? And you said the weird, you don't know the names, so you're calling everything weird. So at that point, I realized you don't get this, do you? And another time, the only time I've ever heard anyone booed at Comic-Con was Olivia Munn. They were doing the Star Wars Fan Film Awards, and she said, okay, and here's the winner, and the rest are all losers. And Chris Hardwick said, no, because he understands fans. He's like, no, they're not losers. She's like, yeah, no, they lost, they're losers. Everyone booed and booed and booed this woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, she really ticked a lot of people off. It doesn't take much to tick off a fan.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's kind of funny because actors, especially back then, now more of them are actually fans of the material, but you go to conventions and fans are crazy to hear the actors talk and to get their autographs and all of that. And that's cool, but they know the least about what's in the movie, the making of the movie, what's going on with related movies. That's not their thing. That's not part of what they're really part of. And that's why I always like going to panels with the writers or, or the producers, but the writers especially on a TV series who know, backwards and forwards. There's that whole thing in Galaxy Quest where the audience is asking the actors about this episode, and they're going, "What? Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know."
I just repeat the computer.
Yeah, these are lines we're given.
And I go on to the next episode, and I don't remember that one. I remember
or another job.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's true.
Yes. As fans, we don't want to hear that. I detest when I'm going up to an actor from the original Star Wars trilogy, and I say, "Oh, let me know about this. Or what did you feel about this? Or tell me about this." They're like, "I don't know. I don't know.
It's just a job.
Just a job. Just a paycheck. That'll destroy my head." John Ratzenberger said that to me, and I think I walked away because I was so disappointed. You're at a Star Wars celebration. Don't tell these fans who are in line to get your autograph it was just a job and a paycheck. Boom.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, be savvy enough to know where you are.
Yes.
You don't have to suddenly be the trivia expert, but approach it with kindness and thoughtfulness. If you're coming, I mean, he was at Star Wars Celebration to make money signing photos.
Right.
Appreciate the love that these people are trying to give you.
Yeah.
And don't
condescend. Not condescending, but just
a politer way that I was going to say it.
Don't be flippant to the people who are trying to give you money.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, all the conventions that you go to, do you ever see a panel yourself that is inspiring to you?
Right, gives you an idea.
Like, wow, wish I had done that, or wow, that really goes beyond what me and Charlie did.
I mean, I wish we could have brought some of the actors. Mark especially would have been great because Mark, of course, used to go to conventions. He's always gotten it. Carrie eventually grew into understanding it because, science fiction was not Carrie's thing. It wasn't Harrison's either. But with time, she grew into it and got, even if science fiction still wasn't her thing, she got the love people felt for the material.
Yeah.
But if I'd been able to bring them, I mean, we brought Mark to the World Science Fiction Convention in 1976 before the movie came out. No one, we had a little exhibit room with, and in my first book, Star Wars Memories, there are photos from that exhibit of costumes and photos and McQuarrie artwork and props. And Mark was in the room like just some guy working the room because no one knew who he was. The movie hadn't come out yet. He was a working actor, but he was mostly doing little parts, so people didn't really know who he was. He was just this nice guy in the room.
I remember your pictures from that too. It blows my mind. He's just standing there in a little Star Wars shirt.
Did you ever try to get the actors to come to the conventions, or it just didn't?
Well, we didn't have a budget for it, and the actors don't come for free.
No.
No, they don't.
There's some of them are being paid for appearances. Others, it's part of their whole overall thing. But you've still got to pay for transportation and accommodations, and right. We had, particularly on Star Wars, we had no money, and even on Empire, we didn't have a lot of money. So we didn't have budgets for bringing people around, and of course, they're working on other things. So it always has to be around someone's schedule. And back in those days, the idea of change your schedule to come down to the San Diego Comic-Con, they're going to go, what? Why would I want to do that?
Right, right. I would say the most revolutionary way I've ever seen a movie marketed at a convention was when the character comes out on stage.
It's exactly what I was
and
thinking of.
I saw this for Reno 911. Everyone, the cast came out as their characters. It blew my mind. And some of the Marvel characters.
I was thinking of Tom Hiddleston as Loki.
And Loki.
Loki took over the room, Hall H, and was like, "You are all my
Tom Hiddleston
minions."
seems to love
yes.
being in character and doing shtick. And that seems to be part of who he is. I mean, I don't know him, but when you see him show up places, he seems to be reveling in that kind of stuff.
Johnny Depp, too.
Johnny Depp as
Jack.
Captain
Captain
Sparrow.
Jack, yeah.
Krennic came out.
Oh, right.
Ben Mendelsohn, when he was at Celebration Europe, and he comes out as in Krennic's big cloak.
White cloak.
White cloak
cape.
with two death troopers.
I mean, that's when people lose their minds because there's the character in the room
character
with you.
is right there.
Yeah.
It's not just a thing up on screen anymore. Now it's the actual character. When I first saw that, it's like, how is this happening?
Yeah.
Anthony Daniels had signed autographs as in the C-3PO costume from the waist up.
Oh, okay. I was
Sitting
going
at a table. That right. I wish I
great.
could have seen that.
Tony's an interesting guy. I hadn't seen him for years. And then there was just an auction. Prop Store had an auction of, among other things, some of his collection that he was selling. And so I was invited to the preview because they were selling some of my stuff as well. And I got a chance to talk to Tony for the first time in years. And so it was great seeing him.
Oh, I can imagine. Now I think he's got more of a connection with the fans because we've done some press roundtables with him, and it seems like he's not as condescending anymore. All right, now I want to talk about how you scarred my childhood there. Okay.
Okay. I've done that to a lot of people.
Now there was a film that haunted my childhood. A film made possible because of Barbra Streisand. So I'm sure you see where this is going. As kids, we were all afraid of the boogeyman. Now, it was no longer the boogeyman. It was a disembodied hand. And the film I'm referring to is Oliver Stone's first feature film, The Hand.
First feature film as a director, yeah.
Yes. And as you say in your book, this was a film that the studio or Michael Caine, who starred in the film, they didn't care about because it was just a little low-budget horror film that they kind of felt obligated to make. So how did this affect your publicizing the film?
Well, as I talk about in More Movie Memories, I was already a consultant to Warner Brothers, and Robbie Friedman came to me and said The Hand was not originally among the films I was slated to work on. And he said to me, would you please, as a favor to us, go and meet with Oliver Stone, Oliver Stone and Ed Pressman. Ed was producing the film, and make them think we're doing stuff to market their movie, which could, tells you how much care they had about it. That was not the attitude they had about, Excalibur or Superman 2. So Ed was a successful producer of a lot of movies, many of them genre movies. And he had a little bungalow of offices on the Warner Brothers lot. And so I went over there and met with him and Oliver. And, I talk about this, as you know, at some length in the book, about what the movie was, got a copy of the script to read, and what we could do. I can't remember if it was Oliver or Ed who wanted, there was back then, this was the early 80s, there was a thing where you would have a little cardboard cutout of a hand, and it would be attached to a spring and a suction cup, and people would put it inside the rear window of their car, and the vibration of the car would make it wave.
Whoa.
And it was just sort of this silly gimmick that you would see occasionally in cars. And they wanted to give out millions of these with the hand written on them as a way to market the movie. It was not something the studio was behind as an idea. But, you know, I met with them and talked with them, and I go into some of the meetings and some of the weirder things that happened. Like in one meeting, a lot of people, Oliver had one big success at that point with...
was it Midnight Express?
Yes.
Well, he wrote that one.
Right, which he wrote. Oliver was always kind of an intellectual. And I've seen this with a lot of people way too early in their career, only want to talk to important publications and, you know, don't want to do this and don't want to do that because they don't actually say it's beneath me, but what they're saying is it's beneath me. And I'm thinking, you're making a low budget disembodied hand movie. You've your first directorial job. You know, you're really not in a position to say I only want to talk to the New York Times.
Yeah, and this was the film where Michael Keaton's hand gets cut off by a truck.
Right, Michael Keaton plays
Michael Caine
plays a
comic book artist. Yeah, and his hand he's pointing outside of a car, and a truck comes the other direction and wipes his hand off.
Oh.
And the hand spends the rest of the film killing each other. So having a hand waving to passerbys is a kind of conflicting message.
It's a little friendly for a killer disembodied hand.
Yeah. So as a kid, we would, instead of saying the boogeyman is over there, we would run and say, oh, we saw the hand! We saw the hand over there! Just freak each other out.
I'm glad I never saw this film.
And Michael Caine was part of the time in his career when he was doing basically anything with a paycheck. He'd gone through a messy, expensive divorce, and was in need of money. And so it's when he did Jaws 3 and, you know, all those movies that he was doing. And of course, thankfully, his career kind of got revitalized with things like the Cider House Rules and
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Yeah, we got back to seeing the talented, real Michael Caine kind of movies. But he was still doing this, and his publicists, who were also under contract to the studio to market the movie, wouldn't let him do interviews on behalf of the movie because they thought it was bad for his career.
So now, how did this affect the job that you had in trying to...
Well, it made my job a lot harder because Oliver wouldn't talk to a lot of places. Michael Caine wouldn't talk to any place about the movie. So I was marketing the other actors in the movie, getting them to do interviews. I was doing, with the special effects team who made up. There were animatronic hands, puppeted hands, and sort of robot walking hands that were used. So, you publicize what you can publicize.
Okay.
And in a sense, that's always been was always part of my specialty is who do you market to? What do you have to market? When I was marketing, and I talk, of course, a lot about this in the book, when I was marketing Excalibur, the studio was marketing it as a men's action movie. And I was marketing it to science fiction and comic conventions as an exciting fantasy adventure. But I also went to Bride magazine and convinced them to do a pictorial on the wedding of Arthur and Guinevere.
Nice.
It's not going to affect the positioning of the film in terms of that men's action kind of thing. So no college guy is going to say, oh, it's about this wedding. I'm not going to a chick flick.
Right.
Which the studio worried about. Because who reads Bride magazine?
Yeah.
Women who are dreaming of being brides, women who are about to be brides, mothers of brides, aunts of brides, Doesn't affect the general positioning, but it broadens out the marketing of the movie. Who will see this, who might be interested in going to see the movie.
Going back to the hand, didn't you say in your book that Carlo Lombardi created the hands, and he's
Carlo Rambaldi.
Yes, and he is the effects artist who created E.T.
Wow.
Yep.
I guess you could have gone all to the Addams Family fans and say, hey, if you love the Thing and Addams Family, you'll love the hand and the hand.
I don't think Addams Family had come out at that point, but
the TV series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm realizing that between the hand, the articles you wrote publicizing Star Wars and Empire, and creating the Star Wars fan club, you had a big impact on my childhood, Craig.
But not in a way where they can come and arrest you.
Yes,
that's good.
You are still allowed within 100 feet of a school.
Right.
Now, there are so many stories in More Movie Memories. Can't tell the Skywalkers, you gotta get this book. It's such a fun read. So where can the Skywalkers get your book?
Well, right now it's available from Amazon. And I'm going to have a table at San Diego Comic-Con in the small press section where I'll be selling both Star Wars memories and More Movie Memories. And I'm going to be doing 2 talks at Comic-Con. The convention's given me 2 program slots, one on Thursday to show photos and tell stories from More Movie Memories, and on Friday to do a similar talk on Star Wars memories.
Oh, congratulations. Will you be on Friday? Will you be in the Star Wars room? Room 7AB?
Yes, it'll be in the All Star Wars All the Time room on Friday.
Woohoo.
Nice.
What time is your panel on Friday? The 26th?
I believe it's at noon.
Oh, you'll be right before one of our panels at 1. Awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
They actually had me do the Star Wars memories talk last year, also in that room, and they told me that not only did we completely fill the room, they turned away almost as many people as fit in the room, and it was the longest line they had for anything, which is astonishing to me. But the panel went off really well. A lot of fun stories and slides and questions answered, and hopefully this will be the first time I'm doing a More Movie Memories talk. So we'll see how that talk goes. Because I don't have experience giving that talk, although the stories are all ones in the book and things I've been telling people for years.
Well, consider this conversation right here a good run through, a rehearsal.
Talk about the hand a lot.
But I'll be at the virtual cantina Boonta Eve. I think they're still calling it that too, with copies of the book. No slideshow, but copies of the book, and I'm happy to talk to people and sign books and everything.
Thanks again to Spencer Jowitz for bringing all of this together. And once again, they can get an autographed copy there.
Oh, absolutely.
As well as Comic-Con.
Yeah. So, Craig, where can our Skywalkers find you on social media if they aren't already following you?
The easiest place to find me is on Facebook, because I'm old, and that's where we still are. But I have a page. Star Wars Memories has a page. I still see things posted on what I still call Twitter. But
yes.
I'm on Blue Sky occasionally.
All right. Well, Craig, thank you so much for joining us. And I can't tell you once again how much we enjoyed More Movie Memories.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. I'm really glad.
Well, that wraps up episode 473 of Skywalking Through Neverland. We want to thank Craig Miller for coming on the show and sharing his new book, More Movie Memories. And we want to thank all you Skywalkers for coming on and watching us during our live streams and chatting with us in the Sky Chat and watching us on YouTube and subscribing to us on YouTube.
And sharing your memories, too. In fact, do you have things you want to share? Well, we always do, so join us every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific on YouTube as we share things that we've done in the past week, or we update you on live appearances, or we talk about the news of the week, or the latest Disney Plus shows. And we invite you Skywalkers to come on and share something you've done or something you've just added to your collection. We love it so much. Now, speaking of that, though, I believe next week it will not be on Mondays because we're going to be watching Deadpool and Wolverine. So it'll probably be Sunday at 6 p.m.
Well, we can share the movie while we live stream, and you guys can watch while we
We
watch
are
the
not
movie.
allowed to do that.
No, we shouldn't even joke about that.
Yeah.
Not going to joke. So then how about we do it next Tuesday?
Sunday. No,
Sunday.
it's going to be Sunday
Yeah,
because
Sunday.
Tuesday's not going to work
Yeah,
either.
so Sunday the 20th.
Yeah.
21st.
Oh, yeah, Sunday the 21st. Yeah.
We'll do our next things that we want to share.
Yeah.
Do you know what I want to share?
What?
Our books, Today in Star Wars History. We'll autograph copies of Part 1 and 2 and Skywalking Through My Fandom, the interactive notebook, are available now from skywalkingthrough.neverland.com/book. Or you can come see us at Comic-Con on Friday the 26th, or 3 days later we'll be in Hollywood at Scum and Villainy during the virtual Cantina tour, and the next day, July 30th, here in Anaheim at the Biggs Bar and Grill. Biggs Bar and Grill, yes.
Yes. Yeah, and then on Disneyland the next day.
And Disneyland,
Yeah. It's
Oh
going to
my
be
goodness.
a crazy week. Yes. All right. Would you like to support Skywalking Through Neverland? Well, you can consider supporting us through the Skywalking Force, which is our Patreon. And you Skywalking Force members got a surprise this week because Richard and I unexpectedly had access to 10 4-day badges for San Diego Comic-Con. These are, they retail at $350 or $400 each, something like that. They're hard to get. We had access to them and we made them available to the Skywalking Force on a first come first served basis, and we had all the takers. So we were so happy to be able to gift those to you guys, our supporters. And you guys will also, I also uploaded, we did a video for you guys from the beach. We went to the beach. We tested out some equipment that you guys have helped us purchase for making great content for you. And so we put up that beach day video in our Patreon as well. So if you want to consider becoming a Skywalking Force member, just head to skywalkingforce.com, and there's lots of bonus content available already, plus those surprises like random San Diego Comic-Con tickets. So, yeah.
Now, we want to thank our sponsor once again, Small World Vacations, for their continued support. Thinking of a trip to a Disney park or a Disney cruise? You can fill out a Get a Quote form at smallworldvacations.com today. Their vacation planning service is free of charge, so check it out and tell them Skywalking Through Neverland sent you.
Now, we are part of the Skywalking Network.
Skynet.
Where you can find other great shows like Talking Apes.
Which a new episode is coming out this week, where we break down the first issue of the Beneath the Planet of the Apes adaptation. That'll be coming out tomorrow, or if you're watching this on Thursday, a couple days ago.
That's right.
The Max Effects Podcast.
The Neverland Clubhouse.
Totally Tell Me Everything.
Star Warsologies.
And the YouTube shows Collectopolis and Today in Star Wars History.
You can also find us on social media. We are at Skywalking Pod on most places. And you can also find us on Facebook or YouTube. Simply search Skywalking Through Neverland. You can also email us, share@skywalkingthrough.neverland.com.
Now, don't forget to stick around for bloopers and other fun bits that didn't make it into the show. And
always remember,
never give me the hand.
And
Neverland on Alderaan.
That's my line! Me? I did it? Okay. I made the glitches, everyone. I did. That's what his face says. All right. So we're going to do the outro,
The
right?
outro, yes.
Okay.
Everything you do is perfect, sweetie. I love everything about you, even your flubs.
Well, that wraps up episode 473 of Skywalking Through Neverland, because we don't want to talk anymore.
No, someone's getting punchy. Okay,
Got it.
now you've got to get this, please.
And this was not Super 8. This was 8 millimeter.
8.
Before they expanded from, they basically shrink I don't remember exactly, but they expand the amount of area on 8 millimeter film to make it slightly larger. I think they shrink the holes or something. They convert it when they went from 8 millimeter cameras to Super 8 millimeter cameras.
And think about that. Think about how small a millimeter is.
That's true.
And
That is
8
tiny.
millimeter is not. It's just
And so you're
tiny.
adding what, half a millimeter or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So then when you think, okay, so 8 millimeter film is, I guess it's probably like that big, smaller. Okay.
Oh yeah.
But so then you talk about 70 millimeter.
Oh yeah.
And that's
is,
much bigger.
Now we're getting somewhere.
Okay. Interesting.
I mean,
Okay.
35 millimeter is almost 5 times bigger.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And then in a projector, of course, that projects it much bigger.
Yes.
So is that referring to the width of the
width,
film?
Yeah, the aspect ratio.
The aspect ratio.
Like we see those 70 millimeter theaters. That's why
Yes.
people go crazy over that because you get
Right.
so much more information.
Okay.
And it's so much more immersive. Hey, look at those names to the left. They are part of the Skywalking Force, our Patreon.
Become a producer yourself and check out all the Disney Plus themed bonus content available depending on the level you subscribe.
Become a member of the elite Skywalking Force at skywalkingforce.com.